As up until sort of the beginning of this year, it was just a DJ set, and I would, try and source as many kind of energetic tunes that would fit into the sets. And, the majority of the sets that I played, in the UK and Europe and in the States were quite energetic, and, some of them were quite full on.
That was Blackacre producer Akira Kateshi. He too noticed the openness of production within the scene, something that continued to progress the sound over the years.
I mean, after I did Pinball, and when I realised, when the record label kind of came to me and said, look, this record's actually doing, for a first release, it's doing really well, that kind of immediately put me off writing another song similar to Pinball, because I didn't want to get stuck in a sort of formula or a certain sound, because people get bored of that quite quickly, so I can't try and keep it sort of fresh and sort of change it up a little bit. I mean, I'm writing quite a few sort of deeper tunes now, lots of, organic instruments and live drums and stuff like that. So just anything to sort of, keep the brain a bit inspired and keep people kind of interested as well, not get stuck in one formula.
November 2007 saw the release of Casper and Roscoe Fabric Life 37. This gave dubstep a boost into the more mainstream side of rave culture. Following this success, Casper and Roscoe have pushed the more up-tempo, party style of the sound to different countries across the world.
2009 has been crazy. Managed to go to many countries and many events this year, working with Casper and Roscoe. And I'd say some of the big ones, let me think, working with Roscoe in America, doing the festival circuit, we're doing the Roscoe Live. House of Blues, again in Los Angeles, had a very, very good time in California. Working with Casper, Eka Mouse jumped on the set doing the show. It's another massive legend from reggae music coming through.
Casper's Dub Police and Sub Soldiers labels have allowed for newer, less established artists to be pushed to the forefront of the scene.
Linking up with the Dub Police guys, I would hear pretty much across the board, across the spectrum of dubstep. It wasn't any particular thing.
After exploding onto the world scene, a number of producers have stepped into the dubstep limelight. With big hip-hop names such as Eve and Snoop Dogg showing an interest, the early South London sound has clearly progressed more than some people would ever have imagined.
It's starting to branch out a lot recently, there's a lot of commercial records coming out that have, well, for one, chasing status, they've done a track with Snoop Dogg, there's different things now, people sort of starting to get an ear for it and sort of latch onto the idea.
Artists like Eve mentioning dubstep, like on national TV. I mean, there's talk of like top 10 tunes coming to the scene. You're thinking, wow, really? Screams on an advert. I'm watching the telly, man. It's going in for the... Wow. You're thinking, nah, you're having a joke, mate. You're having a laugh. No way. But that's true.
With so many different styles of dubstep coming through, the scene has begun to branch off in a number of different directions, creating subgenres of the original sound.
I think there's loads of niches, like you were saying earlier, there's loads of, you've got your garage element, you've got your dub element, you've got your drum and bass element, with the Flying Lotus stuff and all those kind of guys, you've got your more kind of hip-hop element. If you go to things like Gaslamp Killer, you've got a slight death metal kind of element.
I think just listening to, compare people like Scream to Ramadan Man, TRG to Roscoe, like they're all considered within the same sort of genre of music, but they're completely different in so many ways, and it seems to be a fresh sort of sound and producer coming out every other week.
Every single element of music is within dubstep at some point. It's even the more kind of housey style of stuff with stuff like Headhunter, and I think that as long as there are all these different elements, it's hard to not find a niche. There's always going to be someone who's doing something new, doing some sort of crossover, even if it's just someone combining the hip-hop element with the drum and bass element. It's a new kind of direction in which things can go.
And I think with bigger names as well, like I say, working with Rafferty, which is, great for me because I'm a huge fan of his mental kind of productions that he does. I'm a big fan of everything that he does. And the same with Rezo as well. I mean, Rezo's just an absolute genius, you know, in terms, you know, just the quality of sound and, you know, the quality of his production as well is just second to none. So
I think it's great that so many different people are writing loads and loads of different styles of music that can kind of all be brought into that. Like, there's a really big hip-hop influence at the moment in a lot of people's productions, which I think is wicked. And I think it's coming away from having to be 140 BPM as well. There's like loads of really slow stuff that's getting called dubstep.
Despite such growth, original producers have still managed to establish their sound. This has allowed for a healthy, well-rounded scene to be created.
Although some people have really locked onto it, like they've really got their sound, like say Scream, you can recognise one of his tunes off like a mile off.
A lot of I don't notice what's happening or what's happening for people because they pretty much still the same crew. Like Dub Police guys, all the same crew. As far as like their outlook and their production, so many tunes. They're all in the studio like all day, every day, making 4 or 5 tunes a week. Thinking nobody's like sitting in the pool, chilling. You know what I'm saying? You know, there's things to be done. So I think that's a good thing, mate. Definitely.
It seems at this point the biggest question on everyone's minds is what will happen to dubstep in the future. As dubstep has fitted into the rave culture so well, there are thoughts that the scene could become overrun with producers and the original sound created in London may be lost.
I've been very consistently surprised at how many different types of dubstep there can be. And it is gotten to the point for me where it's more about kind of trying to keep ahead of the game, about thinking, oh, what kind of new stuff is there that I could do now, as opposed to kind of, right, this is established, how can I do a big track within this? It's all about trying to find a next new thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think things happen very quickly now with sort of genres and influence because, you know, the internet and people can just have access to every style of music instantly, and all these little subgenres just pop up and go after 6 months. But yeah, I think electronica is kind of coming into dubstep quite a lot.
Probably you could name 20. Anybody can name 20 top producers who've got 5 bangers. You know, and that's when I say bangers, I don't mean that in a jump up, you know, mash up the place kind of thing. There's different ways to mash up the place. You know what I mean? Like, there's people out there that have got some fantastic music.
Due to the rate that the sound is advancing, a number of links are being made to the way dubstep has progressed in a similar way to drum and bass. This is a debate that has a divided opinion across the dubstep scene.
There wasn't even maybe 100 tunes for certain years back in the day. You know, now there's probably 100 tunes a week.
Yeah, well, a lot of people are complaining that dubstep has gone down a commercial route recently, and that was the same sort of thing with drum and bass. People complained that it was going on the radios, and now you got wicked radio stations like Rinse, Radio 1, who are at the forefront, mainstream. You know, this is commercialism, but it's still dubstep. It's still staying true for now.
You know, you can't keep a niche market. It's impossible, because somebody will always come along and do something that immediately sort of taps it into the mainstream or into a wider audience. And that happens with pretty much any type of dance music, even, you know, stupid stuff like happy hardcore and jump step. You know, there's certain tunes that sort of rocketed that into, you know, even chart territory. You know, so I mean, it's only a matter of time before there will be a dubstep track that happens. And I think a lot of the purists will hate that. But like I say, it is just a natural progression. You just got to kind of roll with the punches.
Hopefully we can push forward. I think the scene is healthy. There's a lot of good people involved, and I think, I don't know, you know, why people would start to get involved or what works personally to them, but I think dubstep itself as a genre is very strong. I don't see the the scene